My name is Lisa. I had recently turned 40, but sometimes it felt like I was just beginning to understand life. I worked in marketing in a bustling city, which was a far cry from the small town where I grew up and where my past lay, including memories of my ex-husband, Max. I remember the first time I met Max. It was at a small cafe in our hometown. He had dark hair, a confident walk, and a smile that made me feel like I was the only one in the room. "Hi, I'm Max. You're Lisa, right?" he had said, offering a firm handshake that lingered a tad longer than necessary. "Yes, and you're—" I had pretended not to know him. It was a small town, after all. Everyone knew everyone. Max Harrison. I've seen you around. Wanted to come up and say hi." We chatted for a while. He was easy to talk to, and we found a lot in common. Within a few months, we were inseparable. Marriage followed, and then came our precious Emily. Emily was the light of our lives. She had my eyes and Max's stubbornness. She was the perfect blend of both of us. But as the years rolled on, it wasn't just Emily's traits that became evident. Max's need for control began to seep into our daily lives. Everything had to be just so, from the color of the curtains to the friends I hung out with. I felt boxed in, trapped. It wasn't love anymore. It was a cage. 10 years into our marriage, I had had enough. It was a painful decision, but I filed for divorce. Max didn't take it well. Neither did his mother, Clara. She had never liked me and made it evident with every chance she got. After the divorce, I moved to another city for a fresh start and a new job. Emily, being the teenage girl she was, chose to stay with Max. She didn't want to leave her school and friends behind. I understood her reasons, but it broke my heart to be away from her. We decided to connect every day on Skype. It wasn't the same as hugging her tight or braiding her hair, but it was something. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, I called Emily. The screen lit up, and there she was, her bright eyes shining, her hair pulled into a messy bun. "Hey, Mom," she greeted, her voice a welcome balm to my tired soul. "Hi, sweetie, how was school today?" "It was okay. Jenny and I are working on a project together." "Oh, and guess what? Brian said he might come to my birthday party." I smiled. "That's great, Em. And speaking of your birthday, any idea what your dad is planning as a gift?" She hesitated, her eyes darting away from the screen. I'm not sure. We haven't talked about it much." I felt a prickle of unease, but brushed it aside. Maybe she just wanted it to be a surprise. Little did I know, this was the beginning of a whirlwind of events that would change our lives forever. After our call, I couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was hiding something from me. She had always been open about her life, so her hesitance caught me off guard. As I got ready for bed, my mind raced with possibilities. Was she hiding a boyfriend? Was she struggling at school? The next morning, as I sipped my coffee, I decided to do a little digging. I logged into the social media platform where Emily and her friends were most active. Using my mom account, which was really just a profile I created to keep an eye on her without being intrusive, I scrolled through her posts and those of her friends. That's when I stumbled upon it, a post from Emily that made my heart drop to my stomach. It read, "I'm cool, my father will give me plastic surgery for my birthday." The comments below were a mix of shock, excitement, and envy from her peers. I sat back in my chair, aghast. Plastic surgery? She was only 16. I quickly grabbed my phone and dialed Max's number. "Max," I began, trying to keep my voice steady, "is it true? Are you really planning to give Emily plastic surgery for her birthday?" There was a pause, and then his deep voice came through, dripping with irritation. "Why do you care? She's with me now. You made your choice." "It's not about us, Max. It's about Emily. She's just a kid." "She's not a kid anymore," he shot back. "Besides, it's something she wants." I could hear the defensiveness in his tone. Did she tell you that? Or did you put the idea in her head? Before he could respond, another voice chimed in. It was shrill and unmistakable. Clara. Yes, we'll get her plastic surgery because she looks too much like you. I was taken aback. Clara, why are you involved in this? She laughed, a bitter sound that made my skin crawl. Why wouldn't I be? She's my granddaughter. Enough, Clara, Max intervened, though there was no real force behind his words. Lisa, stay out of it. Emily's with me now. I won't stand by and let you make such a life-changing decision for her, I replied, my voice firm. Max sighed. She wants this, Lisa. It's not like we're forcing her. But why, Max? Why would she want something like this at her age? I don't have to explain myself to you, he retorted, and ended the call. I sat there, phone in hand, the weight of the revelation pressing down on me. My beautiful daughter, who I had always told was perfect just the way she was considering changing herself, and Max and Clara were encouraging it. Tears blurred my vision. I needed to do something. I had to talk to Emily, understand her perspective. Maybe, just maybe, I could make her see that she didn't need to change herself for anyone. Upon arriving in my hometown, the nostalgia of the familiar streets and places was overpowering. Still, my focus remained unwavering. I had to speak with Emily. Our chosen spot was Daisy's Delight, a cafe filled with memories of our shared times. Hey, Em, I began gently when she arrived, her presence filling me with both relief and anxiety. Mom, she said with a note of surprise in her voice. What are you doing here? Taking a deep breath, I decided to tackle the subject head on. I saw your post about the plastic surgery. Almost immediately, her face transformed from surprise to frustration. Why can't you just stay out of my life? Why do you always have to meddle? She shot back. Taken aback, I tried to explain. Em, I'm just concerned. It's a big decision. She slammed her hands on the table, drawing a few glances from nearby customers. This is my life, Mom. You left. You moved away and left me with Dad. You don't get a say in this. Emily, I tried to keep my voice steady. This isn't about us or where I live. It's about making sure you're not making a decision you might regret. She glared at me, her eyes glistening with anger. Dad and Grandma Clara think it's a good idea? Maybe if you were around more, you'd understand. I'm here now, I said quietly, trying to bridge the gap widening between us. And I just want what's best for you. She pushed her chair back abruptly. You always say that, but all you do is control everything, just like with Dad. Without another word, she stormed out of the cafe, leaving me stunned and worried amidst the remnants of our confrontation. The weight of our argument hung heavily on me. I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt and confusion. Was I being too controlling, or was I genuinely trying to protect Emily from a decision she might regret? As I pondered this, an idea struck me. Perhaps if Emily heard from people who loved her and saw her for the beautiful person she was, she might reconsider. Returning to my hotel room, I pulled out my laptop and signed into my social media account. I selected a beautiful picture of Emily and me from one of our recent vacations. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue, and our smiles were genuine and wide. With a deep breath, I typed, "My beautiful daughter, Emily. So proud of her every day. Every time I look at her, I see perfection. I see strength, intelligence, and beauty inside and out." Hitting post, I felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. The minutes felt like hours as I waited for reactions to come in. The first comment appeared from my college friend Sarah. Emily has grown into such a beautiful young lady. She looks just like you, Lisa. Both gorgeous. Then another from my cousin Mark. Wow, time flies. Emily's a spitting image of you when you were her age. Absolutely stunning. More comments poured in, each one praising Emily for her natural beauty, intelligence, and charm. Feeling a little better, I decided to call my best friend Jane for some advice. "Hey, Lisa," Jane answered. "How's everything?" "Hey, Jane, it's been rough," I began, explaining the situation. Jane listened patiently, then said, "You know, kids at Emily's age are often influenced by so many factors. Peer pressure, the desire to fit in, and sometimes, unfortunately, by family too." "I know," I replied, "but I just want her to see how amazing she already is. You've done your part. Sometimes affirmation from others can be powerful. Let her see how others view her." And she was right. Later that evening, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Emily. "Hey, Mom, I saw your post," her message began, "and I read all the comments. It's a lot to take in." I replied immediately, "I just wanted to remind you of how many people love and appreciate you for who you are." There was a pause before she wrote back, "Thanks, Mom. I've been thinking a lot. Can we meet tomorrow?" Relief washed over me. "Of course, Em. Anytime." It was a small victory, but it was a start. The power of kind words and affirmation had managed to pierce through the cloud of confusion and doubt, if only just a little. The sun was high in the sky as I approached the house where I once lived. My memories of it were interlaced with emotions, both fond and painful. I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell, bracing myself for the confrontation. Clara, with her signature tight bun, answered the door. Her eyes narrowed at the sight of me. "Lisa," she remarked, her voice cold. "I need to speak with Max," I said, meeting her gaze with determination. Before she could retort, Max's voice came from behind her. "Let her in, Mom." Stepping into the familiar living room, I felt a rush of past memories. But there was no time for sentimentality. "We need to talk about Emily," I began. Max, his face betraying a mixture of annoyance and defiance, said, "I knew you'd have something to say about it." "Why the surgery, Max?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "She's just a child." He exhaled sharply, his gaze unwavering. "She looks too much like you, Lisa." I was taken aback. What does that even mean? Clara, never one to stay silent, added, "Every time we see her, we're reminded of you, of everything that went wrong." "I want her to be her own person, not your shadow," Max declared, his tone biting. "I don't care if this isn't what Emily wants. I want to forget. Every time I look at her, I see you, and it brings back all the bad memories." His words stung, but I wouldn't back down. "So you'd put Emily through a life-changing procedure just to erase your memories of me?" Before he could respond, a noise from the hallway caught our attention. Emily stood there, her face pale, having overheard our conversation. The room was heavy with a painful silence. Tears filled her eyes as she looked between the three of us, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is this why you want me to change, Dad? Because of Mom?" Max, for the first time, seemed lost for words. The reality of the situation and the weight of his daughter's pain evident on his face. The atmosphere in the room was thick with tension. Emily, her eyes red from the tears, stood there, a mix of hurt and anger on her face. All eyes were on her, waiting for her to speak. "Dad," she began, her voice trembling. "Is this what you think of me? Just a reflection of Mom?" Max looked flustered, clearly caught off guard. "Emily, it's not like that." "Then what is it like?" she retorted, her voice gaining strength. "You want to change me because you don't like what you see? Because I remind you of Mom?" Clara attempted to intervene. "Emily, it's for the best. You'll understand when you're older." I watched as my daughter squared her shoulders, facing her grandmother. "No, Grandma. I understand now. I understand that I'm just a pawn in this twisted game between you two and Mom." Feeling a need to step in, I said, "Em, this isn't your fault. None of this is. You shouldn't be dragged into our problems." Emily turned to face me. "But I am, Mom. I'm right in the middle of it." Max, seeming to find his voice, said, "Emily, I thought it would be a fresh start for us, away from the past." "At my expense?" Emily shot back, her eyes searching his for answers. "You're willing to change me, make me go through something so drastic, just so you can forget? Why can't you just accept me as I am?" Clara, looking more unsettled than I'd ever seen her, tried to speak. "We just thought it was for the best." "For whose best, Grandma? Yours or mine?" Emily's voice quivered, but her resolve was clear. I felt a mix of pride and heartache seeing my daughter stand up for herself, confronting the two people who were supposed to support and love her unconditionally. Emily took a deep breath. "I don't want to be someone's reminder or regret. I want to be Emily. That's who I am. And if you can't accept that, then maybe I don't belong here." She looked at me, her eyes pleading. "Mom, can we go?" I nodded, moving towards her. "Of course, sweetie." As we walked out of the house, leaving behind the shadows of the past, I felt a mix of emotions. There was pain and sorrow for the family ties that were fraying. But above all, there was pride. Pride in my daughter, who had taken a stand for herself, asserting her identity in the face of adversity. A few weeks after the confrontation, I received an official letter. Max was taking legal action, intending to gain full custody of Emily. My heart raced as I read the document. The thought of losing my daughter was unbearable. I immediately reached out to a lawyer, Jenna, who had been recommended to me by a friend. "Jenna, I won't let him take her. Not after everything," I asserted during our first meeting. Jenna looked over the papers, her expression thoughtful. "Don't worry, Lisa. The court will always consider Emily's wishes, especially given her age." The day of the hearing arrived faster than I had anticipated. The courtroom was cold and intimidating. Max sat on the other side, Clara by his side, shooting me venomous looks. The judge, a stern-looking woman with gray hair, called the session to order. "We are here to determine the custody of Emily Harrison. Both parties will present their cases." Max's lawyer, a tall man with slicked-back hair, began, "Your Honor, Mr. Harrison believes that it's in Emily's best interest to remain with him. He provides a stable environment and is fully capable of supporting her." Jenna stood up. "Your Honor, with all due respect, this case is not about financial support. It's about emotional and psychological well-being. Lisa has always been there for her daughter, even after moving away for work. The decision to alter Emily's appearance was made without her knowledge or consent, which has caused a rift between the child and her father." The judge nodded, making notes. "What does Emily have to say?" Emily, looking both nervous and determined, stood up. "Your Honor, I want to live with my mom. I love my dad, but I don't feel like he sees me for who I am. He's trying to change me, and I don't think that's right." Max interjected. "Your Honor, she's been influenced by Lisa. She doesn't know what's best for her." I couldn't hold back. "Max, this isn't about us. Stop making it about our past and focus on our daughter's future." The judge raised her hand, signaling for silence. "Enough. I've heard enough. Given Emily's age and her expressed wishes, and taking into account the circumstances presented, I believe it's in Emily's best interest to reside with her mother." A wave of relief washed over me. Max looked defeated, and for the first time, Clara was speechless. As we left the courtroom, Emily hugged me tightly. "Thank you, Mom, for everything." I kissed the top of her head. "Always, Em, always." The court had spoken, and justice had been served. But more importantly, my bond with Emily had emerged stronger, untouched by the bitterness of the past. The days following the court verdict were a whirlwind. Emily and I packed up her things from Max's house, a process that was surprisingly smooth, with Max avoiding confrontation. As we packed her things into boxes, Emily came across an old family photo album. She hesitated for a moment, then handed it to me. "Remember this, Mom?" I opened the album, looking at pictures from happier times, beach vacations, birthdays, and Christmases. "Yes, sweetie, I do. Memories, both good and bad, shape us." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Even though things have changed, these moments were still real, right?" I pulled her into a hug. "Absolutely. Every moment we've shared, every challenge we've faced, has brought us to where we are today." With her belongings packed, we headed to our new home. It was a cozy apartment I had rented in a nice part of the city, close to Emily's new school. As we arranged her room, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, I found Jane, my best friend, with a big housewarming basket. "Thought you two could use some treats," Jane said with a smile. Emily's face lit up, seeing the basket filled with her favorite goodies. "Thanks, Aunt Jane." As the evening settled, the three of us sat on the balcony, enjoying the city lights. Jane turned to me. "You know, Lisa, you've shown immense strength through all of this." I took a deep breath. It was tough, but I had to stand up for Emily, for us. Emily, sipping her hot cocoa, chimed in. "And I'm glad you did, Mom. It made me realize how important it is to be true to oneself." Jane nodded. "That's a valuable lesson, Em. One many adults take years to learn." As the night wore on, the three of us shared stories, laughter, and dreams for the future. The weight of the past seemed to fade, replaced by the promise of new beginnings. In the days that followed, Emily and I settled into our new routine. She joined a local art club, channeling her feelings into beautiful paintings. I took up a new job and began rebuilding our life, one day at a time. One evening, as I prepared dinner, Emily walked into the kitchen, a thoughtful look on her face. "Mom, I've been thinking. Maybe someday, when things have cooled down, we can try to mend bridges with Dad. Not for the sake of the past, but for the future." I looked at her, admiring the maturity she displayed. "We'll see, Em. Time has a way of healing wounds. For now, let's focus on us, our dreams, and the adventures ahead." She smiled. "Deal." Life was by no means perfect, but it was ours. Together, Emily and I embarked on a journey of rediscovery, of healing, and of hope. The scars of the past remained, but they no longer defined us. We had each other, and in the end, that was all that mattered.